She was supposed to take the right turn onto Elmswood Drive. We've lived in the same house for 6 years. She's made that turn hundreds of times, usually humming whatever's on the radio, sometimes already talking about what she'll cook. Tonight, no music, just the blink of the turn signal, and then she drove right past it. Hey, that was... I started. I know. She cut me off quickly. Shortcut. Shortcut? That turn was the shortcut. I stared at her, but she didn't look at me. Eyes locked forward, knuckles tight on the wheel. Her face didn't match her tone. Something was off. I'm not a detective, but I'm not clueless either. I noticed the little things. And something about that missed turn told me I wasn't in the passenger seat anymore. I was somewhere else entirely. Somewhere uninvited. We had just left her company's quarterly networking event. Everyone was clapping for something. I didn't catch what. I was still thinking about how she vanished for 20 minutes halfway through the night. Said she had to take a work call. From who? It's Saturday. She's in HR. I didn't say anything at the time. I never do. I always talk myself down before she can. She's tired. She works hard. Don't be controlling, Lowell. You're lucky she even wants you there. But now she's skipping our turn home. And my phone buzzed. I looked down. Blocked number. No name. No preview. Just one message. You don't know where she was tonight. I stared at the screen. Blinked. Another message came in, and this one made my stomach drop. Don't let her see this. I tilted my phone away from her. Heart thudding. I opened it. There was a photo. Blurry but clear enough. It was Emery. Same dress, same hair. Standing in a dimly lit hotel hallway. Room number just barely visible behind her. 314. She was laughing. With someone. A man in a dark jacket whose face was turned away. But their hands, his were on her waist. Hers on his chest. Couldn't breathe. This was what? 30 minutes ago? I turned to her. Where are we going? She shrugged. I thought I'd grab drive-through. You looked hungry. I wasn't hungry. I was nauseous. The third message came in. A video. I didn't open it. Not yet. I didn't have it in me. So I stared out the window. At the gas stations, the neon signs, the empty sidewalks. All the places that used to feel normal. Safe. She turned into the fast food parking lot like everything was fine. Ordered her usual spicy chicken, no mayo. Turned to me. You want something? I shook my head. She smiled faintly. And right there, under the soft yellow glow of a drive-through window, I realized. She wasn't afraid. Because she thought I'd never find out. She handed me the bag of food like it meant something. Like a warm sandwich could undo the chill crawling down my back. I held it in my lap. Not because I wanted it, but because I didn't know what else to do with my hands. My fingers were trembling, and I was terrified she'd notice. She didn't. Emery just tapped her nails on the steering wheel while waiting for change. Casually humming to herself like this was any other night. Maybe to her it was. But for me, the text was still open on my phone. The photo burned into my brain. Her standing there, inches from someone else, laughing like she laughed with me 5 years ago when everything still felt safe. Before my insecurities became draining. Before my small online business became cute. Before I was something to endure rather than cherish. When we got back on the road, I pretended to doze off, tilting my head against the window to avoid talking. But my mind was screaming. Screaming for answers. For courage. For anything that didn't feel like this ache under my ribs. I opened the video. Quietly. Turned the brightness down so low I could barely make out the first few frames. It started with static, then it focused. A hotel room. Soft lighting. The same dress I saw her wear tonight, only now it was halfway down her arms. Emery giggling. Her voice slightly slurred like she'd had a second glass of wine she never mentioned. A man's voice. Deep, unfamiliar, playful. He whispered something I couldn't make out. She responded with something that shattered me completely. We need to be quick. He gets suspicious when I disappear too long. My throat tightened. My heart felt like it was trying to fold in on itself. My first instinct was denial. Maybe this was old. Maybe someone was messing with me. But the timestamp on the video was clear. It was tonight, just before we left the hotel. And the worst part? She didn't look guilty. She looked alive. She hadn't looked at me like that in years. We arrived home 20 minutes later. She parked in the driveway, unbuckled, and turned to me casually. "You're extra quiet," she said. "You sure you're not sick or something?" I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Just tired," I muttered. The words tasted like ash. She gave me a peck on the cheek and headed inside, tossing her heels by the door like it was any other evening. I stood on the porch longer than I should have, my hand still holding the phone, screen dimmed, heart cracked wide open. I wasn't ready to confront her, not because I didn't care, but because I cared too much. And she knew it. That's what made it worse. She counted on my silence, on my weakness, on the fact that I never pushed back too hard, never made a scene. I was the safe one. But something shifted in me that night. Not rage, just clarity. A numb, gnawing clarity. I wasn't going to explode. I wasn't going to throw things or scream or demand answers. I was going to observe. Quietly. Closely. Because if she thought this was going to stay hidden, she had no idea just how far I was willing to go for the truth. And the truth? It was just starting to spill. The next morning, Emery acted like nothing had happened. She made coffee, hummed while flipping pancakes, and even tossed one to me like she used to in our early days. Playful, spontaneous. But it didn't feel charming anymore. Felt rehearsed. Like she was reading from a script, overemphasizing the warmth so I wouldn't notice the frost under her smile. I watched her, closely. Every movement, every word. I was memorizing her patterns now. I knew if I accused her, she'd flip it around. Make me the paranoid one. The insecure husband reading too much into a blurry photo and a vague video. I needed more. I didn't want revenge. I wanted truth. The full, undeniable, ugly truth. So I started digging. She left for her Pilates class at 8:30 sharp. I waited exactly 5 minutes after the door clicked shut before I went into her closet. I've never snooped through her things before. Never needed to. But that morning, I was shaking as I rifled through handbags and side pockets. Then, in the lining of the red clutch, the same one from the photo, I felt something stiff wedged under the fabric. I peeled it back and pulled out a keycard. It had no logo, but someone had written in pen on a strip of tape. Edgewater 314. Room 314. The room from the video. My head spun. My hands were slick with sweat, but my jaw clenched so hard I thought I'd chip a tooth. There it was. Cold, laminated, and real. Not a text. Not hearsay. Something I could touch. Could have called her right then. Screamed down the phone. Demanded she come home and explain herself. But again, I didn't. Instead, I grabbed my jacket, slid the keycard into my wallet, and headed out. The Edgewater wasn't far. 10 minutes, tops. A mid-range business hotel, the kind you don't look at twice. I walked through the glass doors like I belonged there, nodded at the front desk, and made my way to the elevator. I could barely breathe as I pressed the button for the 3rd floor. Every ding of the elevator felt like a countdown to something irreversible. When I reached room 314, I just stood there, for a full minute, listening. Nothing. No voices. No footsteps. My hand trembled as I slid the card through the reader. The green light blinked. The lock clicked. Inside, the room was spotless. Standard double bed. Desk. One armchair. But something about it felt hollow, like it had secrets pressed into the carpet. And then I saw it. Tucked under the edge of the bed, barely visible, was a cufflink. Silver. With a monogram J.R. I picked it up, rolling it in my palm like it might reveal something. I didn't know any J.R. Neither did Emery. At least not publicly. I snapped a photo of the cufflink, then of the room, then of the empty wine bottle in the trash. I didn't touch anything else. I just stood there for another minute, trying to imagine the sounds, the laughter, the betrayal that had filled the space just hours earlier. On my way out, I passed a maid cart in the hallway. A young woman with earbuds in and a bored expression looked up briefly. "You checking out?" she asked casually. I froze. No, just forgot something. She shrugged, not caring. You were in there yesterday too, right? Around 7? You left before the other guy. Tall dude, navy blazer. I didn't answer. I just gave a tight smile and walked faster than I meant to. Back in my car, I sat in silence, engine running, keycard in one hand and cufflink in the other. This wasn't in my head. It wasn't paranoia. It wasn't me being a clingy, whiny husband. I wasn't imagining her pulling away from me the past few months. The strange calls, the sudden weekend workshops, the nights where she came home smelling like someone else's cologne but said it was just traffic. It was all real. And now I had names, locations, times. I was finally building something I couldn't unsee. But the question was, what was I going to do with it? When I got home, I felt like I was floating through a house that no longer belonged to me. The walls were familiar, but the air had changed. Everything seemed quieter, like the place itself was holding its breath. Emery wasn't back yet. I had at least another hour. I sat at the kitchen table, the keycard in one hand, the cufflink in the other, and a pit growing in my stomach that I knew would only get deeper. I didn't want to become the guy who searched through his wife's things, the guy who snoops, but I already was. So I opened her laptop. It wasn't password protected, which surprised me. Emery wasn't careless, but maybe she never thought I'd look. Maybe she thought I'd stay in my safe little corner of the marriage and keep pretending everything was fine. Her browser history was mostly boring. Articles about HR compliance, meal prep videos, a shopping cart full of throw pillows she probably forgot about. But the tabs she'd left open were interesting, 3 hotel booking pages, all under fake names. Different hotels, all within 30 minutes of our home. One was for next Friday. Then I opened her email. Again, I felt like I was doing something dirty, but the truth is, cheating is dirty, and I was already knee-deep in it whether I liked it or not. That's when I saw it. A name, or rather a single letter. A thread of emails from someone labeled only as J. The messages weren't romantic, not directly. No pet names, no explicit content. But they were intimate in tone, like coded conversations. Mentions of next Friday's appointment, and same sweet as last time. A shared understanding. One email simply said, "Can't wait to see you again. It's the only part of the week I look forward to." No response from her, but I didn't need one. The silence was loud enough. I moved to her phone. I had to wait until she showered to grab it. I had about 15 minutes. I sat on the floor in our bedroom with the door cracked just enough to listen for the water, scrolling through her call log. That's when I saw it. A contact saved as Jordan R. Consultant. I don't know why I tapped it. Maybe because I knew. Some part of me already knew. Dozens of calls. Some short, others over an hour long. Always in the evenings. And always on days when she told me she was working late. Then, a weird detail. There were several outgoing calls from her to him that she had deleted. But the phone log still showed them under recents in the backup cloud. Only visible if you knew where to look. She hadn't covered her tracks well enough. I copied the number, plugged it into a reverse search app one used for work, and there it was. Jordan Ryland, a regional consultant, mid-30s, clean LinkedIn profile, a few press photos from conferences. Married. Perfect. The next 30 minutes felt like an out-of-body experience. I Googled everything, found photos of him at her company's events. He was there last quarter, posing in the background of one of Emery's group shots. I remembered that event. She said it was just her department. Said it was boring. I printed out the email chain, screenshotted the call logs, put the cufflink in a sandwich bag, labeled everything like evidence. I don't even know why. I wasn't building a case for court. I think I just needed to make it real. I needed something physical to hold in my hands so I didn't feel like I was going crazy. When Emery got out of the shower, she came into the kitchen in one of my old shirts, hair wrapped in a towel, and kissed me on the cheek like nothing had changed. Like the man she was calling wasn't saved under consultant, while she lied to my face every other day. "I'm thinking we could do that hike this weekend," she said. "Might be nice to get some fresh air." I nodded. barely able to keep my face straight. Yeah, that sounds good. Because here's the thing. I wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. I wanted to see just how far she'd go. What else she'd say. What other lies she'd try to sell me while smiling over coffee and talking about hiking trails. I wanted to watch her build her own trap. And I was getting closer to springing it. 2 days later, I did something I never thought I'd have the nerve to do. I sent a message to Jordan Ryland's wife. I hesitated for hours before hitting send. Her name was Bethany, according to an old Facebook profile that hadn't been touched in over a year, but was still publicly searchable. Her most recent post was a family Christmas photo. 2 kids, a dog in a sweater, matching pajamas, the kind of life Emery and I once pretended we'd build. I hovered over her name, thumb trembling, asking myself if I really wanted to be the guy who tore down someone else's world just because mine was crumbling. But then I thought about the video, about the way Emery smiled when she thought I wasn't watching, about how she touched me less and lied more, about how I hadn't felt seen in months. So I sent the message. It was short and careful. Hi Bethany. I don't know you, and this is probably the last message you ever expected to get from a stranger. But I believe your husband may be involved with my wife. I'm not trying to cause harm. I just need the truth. If you'd be willing to talk, I can show you something. I'll leave that choice up to you. Then I waited. Hours. Nothing. I went to bed that night with my stomach in knots, staring at the ceiling while Emery slept soundly next to me like she didn't have 2 lives crashing into each other. The next morning, I woke up to one message. I knew something was wrong. Please meet me. Today. Anywhere. She sent an address. A diner downtown. Neutral territory. Public. Safe. I took the bus. I didn't want Emery wondering why the car was gone. Told her I was going for a walk and needed time to clear my head. She smiled and said, "That's healthy." I nearly choked on the irony. When I arrived, Bethany was already seated by the window, stirring her coffee like it had personally offended her. She looked tired, the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. I walked over, introduced myself, and sat down. She looked me over for a few seconds before sliding her phone across the table. "Is this your wife?" she asked. The screen showed a photo. Emery in a long blue coat, laughing at something off camera. Her hand hooked casually into Jordan's elbow. They looked like a couple. Like us. But not. I nodded. Bethany sighed. I followed him last week. I thought I was being paranoid, but something in my gut told me he wasn't just staying late for reports. He never touched her in front of anyone, but they moved like people who already knew each other too well. I pulled out the sandwich bag with the cufflink, set it on the table. Then my phone with the photos, the screenshots, the email chain. Bethany scrolled through in silence. Her expression didn't change, except for the slow clenching of her jaw. "You know what's funny?" she said quietly. "He used to make fun of people who cheated, said it was cowardly, said if you want out, just leave." She laughed then, not a happy laugh, something hollow and sharp. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't there for revenge. I wasn't even there for closure. I think I just needed to look someone else in the eye who understood what it felt like to be lied to in the most personal way. Bethany leaned forward. "What do you want to do with this?" I swallowed hard. "I don't know. I'm not the guy who blows things up. I don't want to destroy anyone." Her voice turned cold. "They already did." She was right. We agreed not to confront them, yet. She asked me to send her everything I had. She'd do the same. We'd watch. Wait. See what else came to light. It was strange, sitting across from the wife of the man sleeping with mine, and somehow feeling less alone than I had in months. When I got home, Emery was on the couch, legs curled under her, flipping through her phone. "Feel better?" she asked. I smiled. Yeah, that walk really helped. She didn't know I'd just shaken hands with the other half of her secret, and I wasn't about to let her know. Not yet, because now, I had an ally, and this story wasn't over. 3 days passed. 3 days of pretending, of playing the role of the oblivious husband. I smiled when she talked. I nodded when she lied. Every time Emery looked me in the eye and told me she loved me, something inside me recoiled. And still, I kept the mask on. Because now, this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about exposure. Bethany and I had set up a shared folder. I uploaded screenshots, timestamps, everything I could pull from cloud backups or discrete access to Emery's devices. She added photos, receipts, voicemail recordings that made my stomach turn. They had been doing this longer than either of us guessed. And they were getting lazy. The first break came Thursday night. Emery told me she was going to a team dinner. She even showed me the calendar invite, blocked out with a title that said, Q3 Review Debrief. But when I opened her laptop after she left, I found the actual meeting had been rescheduled. The invite was real. The meeting moved to Zoom. Tomorrow morning. She was testing how much she could get away with. And I let her. I didn't text her. Didn't call. I waited. Bethany and I were tracking their locations now. She had access to her family's mobile plan and could ping Jordan's phone. I had installed a basic app on Emery's iPad that mirrored her iMessages when both devices were on the same Wi-Fi. She hadn't noticed. She never noticed anything outside her own world. At 7:18 p.m., Emery messaged Jordan. Suite 306 tonight. Wine's already there. Don't forget the key. And just like that, the illusion of marriage became a puppet show. Bethany messaged me. Do we go there now? I hesitated. I wanted to. Every cell in my body wanted to show up at that door and knock until the walls shook. But something in me stopped. No, I replied. Not yet. Let them think no one's watching. So instead, I made a plan. I went to the hotel the next morning. Not to confront them, but to talk. To the front desk. To the night manager. I wore my nicest shirt. Told them I was looking to host a surprise anniversary getaway and wanted to see the kind of service they provided. I asked about options for repeating bookings, about if they could track who had stayed in which rooms. The manager, eager to please, opened a guest log on their system. I couldn't see names, but I saw room numbers, dates, pattern. Room 314, 306, 412. All booked under a corporate account. The same corporate account tied to a consulting agency, Jordan's agency. The hotel's system printed reservation summaries by request. I asked for one. Told them I wanted to book the same suite my friend had stayed in last Thursday. The clerk didn't blink. She printed the sheet. No name on it, but it had everything else. Time, company ID, card type, the signature at check-in, just an initial scribble E.L. Emery's full name was Emery Lowell. E.L. Gotcha. Later that night, she came home early. Earlier than she was supposed to. She wore a new coat I hadn't seen before. Burgundy, long, stylish. She looked radiant. And completely unaware that I'd seen the trail of perfume she left from the elevator to our bed. You'll never guess what happened, she said breathlessly. Team dinner got moved again, so I just went shopping instead. Figured I needed some me time. I nodded slowly. Yeah, that makes sense. You deserve it. She smiled, touched my shoulder gently, and walked into the bedroom. I stared after her, chest hollow, wondering how many lies one person could carry and still walk upright. The next morning, Bethany called me. She wasn't crying. She was angry. Jordan used our joint credit card to book a spa package. For two. He used my name. I bit my tongue. When? Today. Noon. Sandstone Wellness Club. Downtown. I was already grabbing my keys. I drove to the Sandstone Wellness Club without knowing what I'd do when I got there. My hands were clammy on the steering wheel the entire way, and my heart was pounding like it knew something my brain hadn't caught up with yet. This wasn't just another surveillance moment. This wasn't screenshots or hushed phone calls. This was real, physical, in daylight. I parked a block away. I didn't want my car recognized. I texted Bethany, I'm here. You? Her reply came a minute later. In the lobby, corner seat, green jacket. I spotted her through the glass before I stepped inside. She looked like someone preparing for battle. Calm, alert, cold-eyed. I walked over and sat beside her. She didn't look at me. Just handed me a guest schedule the receptionist had printed for her when she claimed she was surprising her husband. Their names weren't on it directly, But under the couple's massage slot at noon, the spa had recorded a shared booking under our Amory, a lazy attempt at anonymity, and under payment details, Bethany's own billing address. "They're upstairs," she said quietly. "Changing rooms are separate. Treatment rooms are private." I saw them check in. A million thoughts ran through my mind. Should I wait until they're done? Should I confront them mid-massage? What if it backfires and they twist it all into something I can't recover from? Bethany was the one who said it first. "Let's not scream. Let's record." I blinked at her. "I know the layout," she continued. "The massage rooms don't have cameras. But the hallway does. The waiting room does. If we get them walking in together, hand in hand, laughing like they own the world, it's enough. You need her to see herself, not just deny it behind some veil of technicalities." I nodded slowly. I hadn't thought that far ahead. I was so wrapped up in emotions, betrayal, shame, anger. I hadn't considered what came after. So we waited. We waited 26 painfully long minutes until we saw the elevator lights ping down from the second floor. The gold doors slid open, and there they were. Emery and Jordan, walking out side by side, robes on, sandals clacking lightly on the tile. They weren't touching, but their body language said everything. The closeness, the easy rhythm, the relaxed intimacy of people who had done this before. Bethany pulled out her phone, subtly tilted it, and began recording. I turned away slightly, heart hammering in my chest, barely able to look without tearing something up inside me. Emery laughed at something he said. She tossed her hair the way she used to do with me when we first started dating. Playful, flirtatious, confident. They walked past us without even noticing. They were too caught up in their own little world, the one they'd built on top of the wreckage of ours. Bethany stood first. Her voice was steady, quiet, controlled. "Jordan." He froze, mid-step, like someone had just poured a bucket of ice water over his head. Emery turned too slower. When she saw me, her smile shattered. The color drained from her face like someone pulled the plug. What are you doing here?" she stammered. I didn't answer. Couldn't. Not yet. I just looked at her. Really looked. For the first time in weeks, I didn't see my wife. I saw a stranger wearing her skin. Jordan stepped forward like he was about to explain something. Bethany held up her phone. "Don't bother. We already have everything." Emery opened her mouth, closed it, then took a step back. "I can explain," she whispered. I laughed. Came out hollow, foreign. "Of course you can. I've heard that's your favorite game lately." A staff member approached, sensing the tension. "Is everything okay?" Bethany smiled politely. "Oh yes, we were just leaving." We turned and walked out. Emery called my name once, but I didn't stop. Couldn't. Not anymore. Out in the parking lot, Bethany looked at me. "So what now?" I swallowed hard, unsure how to even form words around the storm in my chest. "I think I'm done pretending." I didn't go home that night. Instead, I drove to the lake near my old college. One of those places I hadn't visited in years but always remembered when I needed clarity. I sat there for hours, letting the wind whip across the water while the sun slid behind the trees. No messages from Emery. No calls either. She must have known that words wouldn't fix anything now. Bethany and I agreed not to press charges or drag this into court. We had what we needed: truth, evidence, finality. She filed for divorce a week later. I followed right after. Emery tried, of course. For days she sent long texts, voicemails soaked in regret, excuses dressed up as confusion. She even left a handwritten letter under my windshield wiper. I didn't open it. Some things don't need closure when the silence speaks louder. But here's the thing: I didn't fall apart. I moved into a small apartment downtown. It's not fancy, but it's mine. I started running again. I finally updated the antique map site I'd been neglecting for years, and to my surprise, it started to grow. Orders came in. New customers. I poured myself into it. Into me. A month later, Bethany and I grabbed lunch. Not as co-survivors, but as people moving on. She was smiling again. talking about taking her kids on a road trip, starting over somewhere warmer. You know, she said, stirring her tea, for something that almost destroyed us, we got lucky. We got out. I nodded. Yeah, we really did. Now, when I think about Emery, I don't feel that same burn in my chest. I don't feel like I need answers. I just feel free. And it turns out, freedom tastes a lot like coffee in the morning without walking on eggshells. Like falling asleep with peace instead of suspicion. Like breathing deeply in your own space and not wondering where someone else's phone is. So that's my story. I never thought I'd be the guy telling it, but here I am, standing on the other side of a lie that tried to crush me. And somehow I came out stronger, quieter, clearer. Sometimes it takes betrayal to remind you who you are. And sometimes, being the whiny husband isn't weakness. It's proof you loved with everything you had. If you've made it this far, I want to ask you, have you ever uncovered something that changed your life forever? Something you weren't looking for, but once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it. Thanks for listening. And don't forget you're watching Reddit Confessions.